Ellie here from the Dark Imp, helping parents reclaim family time by playing board games together. Today we're going to talk about 4 games that are really easy to teach. Sometimes you want to play a game with new people, and what you don't want to be doing is spending ages explaining rules and checking back in the rule book and wasting the game time on the explanations. So these are 4 games that are really quick to learn and easy to teach. Start with Dixit. And Dixit is a firm favourite for many families. It's a really different kind of game. It's all based around this super beautiful deck of cards. Each card has a different picture. And the pictures are beautiful. Some are quite absurd. Some are very abstract. They all have the same sort of style. They're truly lovely. Everyone is different. And the way that you play is that you start with a hand of cards, and taking it in turns around the table, you are the person who's deciding what the theme is. So you could say a word or a phrase that you think says something about your card. So I suppose you could say something like living life in a bubble for this one. And then everyone else is going to have to choose a card from their hand that they think might be a bit like living life in a bubble. Now, okay, maybe, for example, I might choose this card if I was a different player. It's not quite living life in a bubble, but it's maybe as close as I've got in my cards. It was a bit of an easy clue. People might get it. So everybody chooses a card, and then they all put them face down, and they give them all to the person who selected it. That person mixes them all up and then puts them down on the table one by one, reminding people of the category living life in a bubble. Put them down, put them down, put them down. And then everyone around the table, except the person who selected the category in the first place, everyone around the table has to vote on which they think is the one that the category selecting person has chosen, which is the dealer's card. So the knack really is to select something that is specific to your card but not too specific. You want other people to be able to guess things that are maybe on other people's cards. If you're the dealer, you win no points if nobody guesses you, and you win no points if everybody guesses you. So you want at least one person to guess you. And you get points if you're another player for guessing the right person. And you also get points if somebody guesses you, so if you've selected the right thing. So, for example, we could say something like life on stage or something, and you could have this marionette, or you could have these masks, or maybe you could have this person in a snow globe, life on stage. So the trick is to select an interesting category, phrase, or word that could relate to several cards. You get points. You don't really need to score if you don't want to. It's just a super fun game to play. Dixit. Now we've got Imhotep. It's quite difficult to say. I think I might have got it right. Imhotep. No, Imhotep. Imhotep. Who knows? This is a building game, as you can guess by the title, Builder of Egypt. It comes with 4 different colour stone cubes, and each player is going to select one of the different colours, and you get a whole load of these colours. So and you create a sort of quarry with your cubes. So if you're white, you're going to have a big pile of white cubes. next to your area, and that's your quarry. In Imhotep, there are several different actions you can take on a turn. The first action is you can take stones from your quarry, up to 3 stones from your quarry, and put them on your little rolling cart. You need your rolling cart, has a maximum of 5, you need your rolling cart to transport your stone to the ships. And each round there are different ships that are out. They might be size 4, so they can fit 4 bricks on, size 3, 2, or, oh no, that was 2, or there is a 1 as well. And every round it's slightly different, so you draw a new card and it shows you which ships you're going to use. So the first action is putting stones onto your cart. The second action is moving 1 stone from your cart to a ship of your choice. You can choose which ship and you can choose which position on the ship. The third action is you can sail a boat. Now each of the boats have a required minimum amount of stone that needs to be on them in order to sail. So that the ship that has 3 spots requires that 2 of them are filled. It has 2 stones at the top to remind you before you can sail it. The 2 boat requires you have at least 1. So you could sail the ship. Now if you sail the ship, you get to choose which of the ports it sails to. There are 5 ports, they're placed on the table, and when you sail a ship, you move the ship into the port, like so. And then you offload the stones from the ship into the port. So in this case, they're going to be offloaded into the temple. So these different ports, they do different things, and you score points in different ways. And you move the stones off. For the temple, they just go next to each other in whichever order they come. They go left to right, and then they go on top, left to right, left to right. Each turn that a ship sails to the temple, it goes left to right, left to right, left to right. At the end of every round, the temple scores by looking directly from above, and any stone that you can see scores 1 point. So let's say we have a situation like this. From above, I won't be able to turn it, but from above it's grey, brown, white, white, black. So everybody gets 1 point except white, which gets 2. So that's how it scores, and it scores at the end of every round. The other ports do different things. So the market happens every round as well. So if you send a ship to the market, you get to take one, well, according to the blocks, you get to choose what, just throw everything around. You get to choose one of the cards on the market. Now there's different kinds of cards. Some of them are immediate bonuses, so you can immediately place 1 stone in your obelisk. You can immediately place 1 stone on the burial chamber. Some of them are end of game points scorers. So at the end of the game, score 3 points per stone, 1 point for every 3 stones in the pyramid. Some are action cards that give you multiple actions. So instead of just putting stones or getting new stones from the quarry or putting them on a ship, you could do both. And some of them are statues, and the more statues that you collect during the game, the more points you get at the end. So if you come off the boat into the market, the order in which the stones are offloaded means you can select cards in that order. That's what happens at the market. The obelisk just means that you add stones to your particular stack of stones, your obelisk, and the one with the highest obelisk at the end of the game gets the most points, a lot of points, and it goes down from there. So for example, in a 2-player game, the highest obelisk gets 10 points and the lowest obelisk gets 1 point, so there's a significant difference. The burial chamber, stones are offloaded from the ship and they are put in a column. So it starts from left to right and it goes up to down. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you score points according to how many of your colour stone you have next to each other. And you score that at the end of the game. Then there's the pyramids, and you can, again, it comes exactly like the burial chamber. You put the stones in the order they come off the ship, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But you score the points immediately. And then you end up building a pyramid, but every time you do it, you score points immediately. So there are 5 different places you can go to. You score points in different ways. It's very simple because there's only 3 or 4 actions you can take. And as it's easy to teach, but there's lots to think about. That is Imhotep. Now, King Domino. We talked about King Domino in the tile laying game video, so if you're interested in tile laying games, have a look at that one. King Domino's very simple to teach and quick to learn. It's got, guess what, dominoes in it. So, where are they? Here. So all the different dominoes have different kinds of terrain on them. So we've got sea and forest, we've got double sea there. We've got lots of sea, grassland and desert. And there's 6 different terrain types, and every round 4 dominoes are laid out. They start by being laid out face down, and they're put in order in numerical order face down. So you start with the lowest number at the top, like so. And then you flip them all over, and the person who has turn advantage gets to select which tile they want first, and they put their little meeple on the tile that they want. So you're going to have a situation where you've got 4 different meeples on 4 different tiles if you're playing a 4-player game, and you take them from top to bottom. And so you get turn order advantage for the next turn according to, so if you choose the worst tile, which will be the one at the top, the least useful, then you'll get first pick next time. So you're trying to create a tableau, a sort of kingdom for yourself with these different tiles that's mixed up of different terrain types, and they score according to how big the area is. So if you had these 2 tiles next to each other like this, you'd have an area of desert that's 2, a double area, 1, 2 squares. If you had this, you'd have an area that's 3. You multiply the number of squares in the area by the number of crowns in the area. So now we have 2 crowns in the desert area, and therefore we get 6 points. 3 squares multiplied by 2 crowns. And that's how you score up at the end of the game. You're just trying to get the most valuable domain by getting the right tiles and putting them in the right places. That is King Domino. And finally, Lost Cities. This is one of my favourite 2-player games. 2-player games can sometimes be a little bit hit and miss. I did mention this, though I didn't have it to show in the 2-player games video that I did, so you can look back on that if you're interested in other 2-player games. Lost Cities. In Lost Cities you have a very simple board with 5 different colour spaces on them, and then you have a big deck of cards. And there are 5 different coloured cards, and they each relate to different types of expeditions you might take. You start the game by shuffling all the cards and dealing 8 out to each player. On your turn, you have to play a card, and then you can select a new card. You can play a card on your side of the table into one of the expeditions. So, for example, I could choose to play a blue 4 on my side of the table under the blue section. If I played a blue 4, I can't now play a lower card on it, so I'm going to need to go up, so I could play a 5, a 6 in blue on top of it. These are my expedition cards. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to score as many points as I can in each expedition. The thing is, you have this hand limit in your your hand limit in your hand. You can't take that many cards. You have to stick to only 8 in your hands. And it's very difficult to keep on hold of the very valuable cards whilst also getting out enough smaller cards to make those expeditions worthwhile. The key here is that you count points at the end of the game by the number on the card in each expedition. But if you run an expedition, if you have put any cards at all in an expedition, you immediately incur an expedition cost of 20. So you need to make sure that you're getting more than 20 from any expedition you put down. Now, there are these very cool wager cards. You can see at the top there's a sort of handshake. These are called wager cards. And you have to put them down before you put any other number down if you want to. So this is a white one. It would have to go in the white expedition, and that doubles the points in that expedition, which is great if I'm scoring high. But I could score negative. Remember, I've still got to pay the expedition cost of 20. I could end up with a score of -12 if I'm not careful, doubled. You can put up to 3 of these wager cards, tripling, quadrupling the value. And what you're trying to do is, when you've played a card, you can discard a card. No, when you've played a card, you can select a card. If you can't play a card to one of your expeditions, you're going to discard onto the right coloured pile on the board. And then when you've played a card, you can pick up a card, and you can pick up from the top of the deck, or you can pick up from the top of any discard pile. So except the one you've just discarded. So you have to be careful about what you throw away, because it's going to become available to your opponent. And that's the key here. It's all about hand management, trying to hold on to the high scoring cards which you can't put down at the beginning, that you have to make your expeditions worthwhile. It's a wonderful game. In fact, I might go and play it now. I love it. It's Lost Cities.